Hey guys, Deathslayer Magic here. Got really behind with editing yesterday, so we're going to try and do 2 spoiler vids today. So I'm going to blow through yesterday's spoilers as quickly as humanly possible, which means I'm shooting for bare minimum 1 in 4 completely misread, maybe even a third of them. Alright, so starting out, we got Frostpeak Yeti, or as I'm going to call him, Yeetis. So he's a 3/3 for 4, but if you pay 1 in a snowflake, he can't be blocked this turn. Pretty good. Strap equipment to him and hexproof, and yeah, you're just going to win the game with him. Next up, Notvold Recluse. It's just a 4/2 spider with reach. Thank God it's not another 1/4. Finally, a spider with reach that actually can kill something in the air instead of just blocking it 1 or maybe more times. That actually is refreshing. Next up, Falle Kennel Master. It's a 5 cost 4/4 zombie berserker. When it enters the battlefield, up to 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and indestructible till end of turn. A 1 and done ability for a 4/4 for 5. I mean, if you resurrected him over and over and over, cool. But the whole, oh, let's make them bigger and indestructible, that doesn't fit with the, I don't care if they die, I actually wanted them to die, and also I'm resurrecting them theme of, black zombies and black snow right now. Still, 2 free swings where you can't lose them. I mean, you can't really say no to that. Next up, we got another one of those artifact gods. Artifact side is Raidane's shield. Apparently this blurry mess says something about when a source that an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, it deals -1 of the damage instead. So in other words, it deals that damage -1. I think that's the American phrasing. A good DR effect. We haven't had that in a while. Jeez. Then whenever you or a permanent you control is targeted by a spell or ability that an opponent controls, the opponent has to pay 1 more, otherwise it fizzles. That's spells and abilities. Okay, that is semi-hexproof, and it's one of my absolute favorite mechanics in the game. I'm glad to see it on a thing. It's a shame it costs 4 instead of just being like some colorless, 3-drop or something. But, I mean, then everybody would play it and the whole game would just shift up 1 CMC. So yeah, I think this is really, really good. So on the other side, we've got Raidan or whatever, God of Justice. It's a 3 cost, and let's see, it's flying and vigilance. Snow lands that opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Yes, anti-snow, let's do it. Then opponents have to pay 2 more to cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost 4 or more. Yes, penalize the fatties. We must tax the fatties until they are not fat. Yeah, green needed this. This shuts down blue, this shuts down green, it shuts down black, it shuts down everything. This should go in every white deck that you're going to build for the next 2 years. Boy, that Stopstone was pretty good for 2 colorless, but I mean, this might be my new favorite card in the set. So next up we got Resolute Valkyrie. It's a 4 cost Angel Warrior. Instead of paying the mana cost to cast a spell though, you may pay 1 plus a white and exile a creature card from your graveyard, which of course you're going to do. So it's a 2 cost Angel and it's a flying 3/2 vanilla. So there you go, low-end support for Angels, that's nice. It wasn't looking, the most unplayable compared to like all the 5, 6, 7 cost Giants and all that, but we do have 3 significant 3 cost Giants in Standard that I can remember that are on color. So it's nice to see Angels lower too, because I want something to kick Rogues out, but we all know that the only thing that's going to kick Rogues out is a ban, so yeah. Next up we got a big old French Troll. I think this is Troll, is it Pay, I think, or I don't know. Y'all got too many silent letters, y'all need to cut that shit out. So it's Icehide Troll. It's a 3 cost 2/3 snow creature. Of course, if you pay 2 ice cubes, you get +2/+0 and indestructible till end of turn. But it becomes tapped. So it's basically defensive only unless you gave it vigilance, which would actually be hilarious. I like a good little built-in saver ability, especially when it's not even mana based. It's purely snow mana based. So that is very restrictive. If you can pull it off, good for you. Eat a spell, cool. But, still not an amazing card, obviously. Next up, we got Provoquer les Trolls, which is obviously Provoke the Trolls, but in English they went with Taunt the Trolls. It's a 4 cost red instant, and it deals 3 damage to any target. Then if a creature is dealt damage this way, it gains +5/+0 until the end of turn. Boy, stylistically and like matching the card's theme, you can't do much better than this. This card is hilarious. I'm glad they didn't make this cost like 1, 2, or 3. I mean, 4 is up there because you're just going to target your own creature that's big enough to survive it, I mean, let's be honest, it's going to die in combat unless it is like first strike or something. But, I mean, you could do some damage. You just throw this on like a trampler, especially in like green-red. That's a lot of overflow, but not really for 4 mana, it's not. So I think it's just, I don't know, I want to say a bad spell because it's like, what, 3 damage for 4? Is that a removal? You kidding me? You can do 3 damage for 2 mana. It's clearly not a removal, and then it would be a removal with a downside. So you're obviously going to target your own creature. That is the only use of this. Unless you just really need something with 3 toughness gone that the opponent controls, I guess. I guess it's an option. But that's a backup plan. So the obvious thing is you're going to target your own creature, send it in for +5, and just see what happens. Which I don't love, but like I said, for 4, I mean, that's a hell of a gamble when you're going to lose, obviously this card goes to the graveyard after it comes off the stack, and then that creature's totally dying. So next up we got Surtland Frozen Flame. It's a uncommon land. That's interesting. Enters the battlefield tapped. Okay. Tap it, add red. Cool. And then if you pay 2 + 2 blue + 1 red, okay. Tap it, then sack it. Scry 2, then it deals 2 damage to each creature. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So a stupidly narrowly specific 2 sweeper. Now you're probably thinking, boy, if anybody pulls this off, good for them, this is trash. Giants are those colors? What's gonna beat giants? A rush of small creatures? Here's where it falls flat on its face. That ability costs 5. And as is the case with all lands that have tap abilities, it actually costs 6 because you can't use this land, to pay for the ability. So if you're going to get blitzed by 2 2s and your giant deck is going to lose because of it, you probably don't want something that effectively costs 6 being the cure for that. So this is still narrowly, stupidly specific in my opinion. I mean, if I was running a giant deck, would I throw 1 or 2 in? Sure, what the hell. Next up, Carfell Port. It's pretty much the same thing, blue, tap land, cool. And then if you pay 3 + 1 blue + 2 black for a combination of 6, but let's be honest, 7, then tap it, then sacrifice it, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I mean, open-ended free casting, but it basically costs 7. I mean, if you get out an 8 cost with it, good for you. If you get out Emrakul with it, okay, but that's not in standard, so it's not my problem. I mean, if you're going to make free casting cost 6 or 7, I'm almost okay with it. Because then, I mean, it has to be in your graveyard too. So it's not a free casting, it's resurrecting, which is pretty much the same thing, but a little bit different. Can't wait to see the other 3. Next up, we got Draugr Mind Thief. It's a 2-cost zombie rogue, or 3 costs. I can read today. When Draugr Mind Thief enters the battlefield, look at the top card of a target player's library. You may put that card into its owner's graveyard. So you can get one of your toxic cards out of the way or leave it there, or you could look at one of their cards that they actually do need and get rid of it. Boy, that's actually a kind of neat, unique effect. I mean, and if it's a card they really don't need, you'll leave it there. So there's all these different options, And on top of it, I mean, it's a one and done effect. Those aren't usually very good unless they're extremely good, but this is a 3 damage creature in blue for 3 mana. Whenever the attack power equals the casting cost in blue, it's pretty decent. That's at the very least a really good starting spot, and then this is also a zombie rogue. So unfortunately, if people slot this into rogues, I'm going to be kind of pissed, but that rogue deck is doing just fine with 1 and 2 drops. I don't think that effect is worth 3. Not really. Next up, Jarl of the Abandoned. It's a 4 cost. I got it right this time. Zombie Cleric with Flash. Oh great, another Flash Cleric. Fantastic. When Jarl of the Abandoned enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker that was dealt damage this turn, and then also foretell 2. So, okay, I mean, whatever. People don't tend to play cards that do that. Oh, if they were dealt damage. Well, then you lost a creature, so... For this much mana, even with Foretell, you're just going to want a kill spell, But this is a 3/2 creature, so it's okay, you get that effect and then you get this out of it. But in order to deal damage to it in black, you almost always need to have a creature have died then and chump blocked it. But with 2/2 zombie tokens being a thing and you just treat them as throwaway, which you honestly shouldn't, okay, maybe play it. It's a common. I don't think this is a very good card. By design. Next up, Ruined Crown. It's a 3-cost artifact equipment. When Ruined Crown enters the battlefield, you may search your library, hand, and or graveyard for a rune card. All right. I think this was leaked already. And put it onto the battlefield attached to Ruined Crown. Okay. If you search your library this way, shuffle it, and then equipped creature gets +1/+1 and equip 2. Okay, so you're either getting a rune back or you're getting a rune from your library, unless you're, well, I'd say out, but it's either in your library, it's in play, or they're in the graveyard. It's got to be somewhere. I mean, if you put it in your deck in the first place. So that's cool. I mean, it's a very narrow specific fetch, but it powers this up. And then honestly, for a 3-drop and 2 equip, +1/+1 is nothing. So you're pretty much already paying for the rune, but you're just getting it back. So is it a wash? Is it worth playing? Really hard to say. I'd lean towards yes, because runes on equipment, it's who targets the equipment? You target the creature and then the equipment sits there and then the rune sits on it. So it's okay, you could keep that rolling. So I'd be interested in playing this. I think this will be huge in draft and at the pre-release, because if you have like one rune, well now, and then you have like one or two equipment or maybe two runes, well, what are the odds those will even match up in the damn game? This does it for you. You just go grab it. So this being uncommon, yeah, absolutely. If I saw this early enough, like the first 50% of the draft, I would just go get a rune after this and make it work, you know? Well, unless you pull the rune first, but equipment is very high priority for a draft. So, you know, you probably have some equipment. So next up we got Axgard Armory, another one of these lands. This one says pay 4 total with red and white there. Sacrifice Axgard Armory, of course, tap it to, and search your library for an aura card and or equipment card. Saw that coming, reveal it, and put it in your hand. A narrow tutor for 4. I mean, I get it, it's not black, so cool, tutor effect, but like, you're using pretty much all of your mana for the turn. It doesn't even go into play, which it shouldn't. That would be free casting, and I'm against that. But just outlining, this isn't a good card. And then you lose a land off it. I mean, I don't know about that. Even if I was running this deck, I don't know about that. Next up, Ascendant Spirit. It's a blue snow creature spirit 1/1. Oh, God, that's small. Jeez, people with glasses or like vision issues are going to be kind of pissed at the set. So you pay 2 little snowflakes, you get Ascendant Spirit, becomes a spirit warrior with base power and toughness 2/3. I guess we're not writing until end of turn. The problem is there is no indication whatsoever. So you just got to be, hey, remember 5 turns back when I turned it into this? Oh no, didn't you use the other ability? No, I used this one. Okay, well, there's no charge counter. There's no like mode. There's no marker. Guess you're just going to have to remember and take their word for it. That is not how the game's supposed to work. So next up, you pay 3 frozen meatballs. You get, if Ascendant Spirit is a warrior, put a, oh, this is just level up. Okay. If it's a warrior, put a flying counter on it and it becomes a spirit warrior angel with base power and toughness 4/4. Nice. But I mean, you're 5 meatballs in at this point, but it is a 1/1, so I mean, or 1 cost, pardon me. And then if you pay 4 snowballs, you get, if Ascendant Spirit is an angel, put 2 1/1 counters on it. It gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Damn! And then you play that tree that makes it a changeling, which makes it all types, and then you just do that immediately and win the game. That is not the only interaction with that stupid tree that's messed up. I'm going to make a video on it soon. Next up, Poison the Cup. It's a 3-cost black instant. Okay, here we go. Good classic kill spell, probably. Yeah, destroy target creature. If it was foretold, scry 2. Nice, that's solid. I mean, that's murder plus. Foretell 2. Kinda wish it was 1. I mean, if you're already paying the 2 and you already can't use it this turn, I mean, you know, why not make it 1? Probably because now 4 total explains the scry 2, but I mean, still. So next up, Strategic Planning. It's a 2-cost blue sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of them in your hand and the rest in the graveyard. Great. It's another Brainstorm, Ponder, Opt, Preordained. I think 3 of which are banned in multiple formats. Thus proving my point that they need to stop doing this. I get it. It's a blue thing. Whatever. Cool. Great. Stop printing it at the same time as Hyper Control. Because then they just look at the top 3 and grab more control shit. So next up, Usher of the Fallen, or Usher of the Fallen, whatever, who cares. It's a 2/1 for 1. Okay, that's powerful. Spirit Warrior. Okay, that'll go well in certain decks. And then Boast 2, create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. And this isn't even a rare. Wow. That is pretty damn pushed for 1. I think they're just assuming you're going to swing once with it and not get away with it because of the 1 toughness. Not necessarily. So next up, we got a Beskir Shield Maid. It's 2-cost 2/1 human warrior, and when it dies, create a 1/1 human warrior creature token. Alright, solid warrior tribal card. Next up, we got Tuskeri Firewalker. It's a 3/2 for 3 with Boast 1. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. I mean, that could get out of control. Even if you lose him, it's like, okay, you probably pulled a replacement for him, maybe. So I think this will be a pretty solid card. Next up, we've got En Busca de la Grandeza. My translation wasn't accurate, so let's go with In Search of Greatness, which is what it actually says. It's a 2-cost double green enchantment, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying the spell's mana cost if you don't scry 1. Wow, that's bullshit. Right now, the biggest menace in green is the sheer level of card draw mixed with the whole 4 or greater thing, which is just a card draw enabler, so I just described the same damn thing. So you got a 7 cost into play somehow, probably honestly not by paying 7, but even if you did, oh well, now you can cast a 6 cost for free. That's ridiculous. Utterly, completely ridiculous. Mix this with the Great Henge, which if you're saying, that's not a deck anybody plays, the Great Henge is $60 right now. I think somebody's playing that deck. Seriously, look it up. It's a $60 card. $65 on other platforms, actually. It's not even legendary. What even is this shit? Who thought that this was acceptable? A free casting card for 2. I have better things to do with my time than to cover this game-ruining shit and try to explain to the 1% of absolute dumbasses in the comment section they're going to say I'm wrong that this card shouldn't have been printed. So let's move on. Next up, Skemfar Avenger. It's a 2-cost 3/1, and whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. That's what we needed, a draw card in a resurrection deck that's already tribal boosted in 2 colors. Remember when Death Trigger draws ruined the entire game? Like it was called Aristocrats? Yeah, here we go again. Next up, Revitalize. Oh god, that's reprinted. Great, I hate that card. Next up, Valkyrie Sword, 2-cost white equipment, and when it enters battlefield, you may pay 5, which, no you won't, that's 7, who has that? If you do, create a 4/4 White Angel Warrior creature token with Flying and Vigilance, then attach Valkyrie Sword to it. Equipped creature gets +2/+1, and it's equipped 3. So, unless you're going to pay 7 for it, this is a completely shitty card. 2-drop 3 equipped to give it +2/+1. Are you kidding me? That's trash. Next up, Dwarven Reinforcements. 4 costs, create 2/2/1 red dwarf berserker creature tokens. No haste though. That's nice. And then Foretell 2. Why? On turn 2, it's a hyper-aggressive, fast, low-cost deck. I'm running like 19-20 lands, so I'm not going to get to 4 very easily. But wait, I'll just Foretell split it. So I'm going to completely bypass my entire hand and do nothing, spend all of my turn's mana on tucking this into exile. Then next turn, I'm going to spend 100% of my mana again to get 2 shitty 2/1s. Why does this have Foretell? What is the point? You either have 4 mana or you don't. There is absolutely no reason to split this whatsoever unless you're just like, I have 2 spare mana, nothing to spend it on, which in red means you built your deck incorrectly. Next up, Not Volt Slumbermound. Oh good, it's one of these. You paid way the hell too much mana, sack it, and destroy target land, then create a 4/4 troll. Wonderful. That's what we needed, more land destruction. I'm so glad that the troll tribal deck, which is not a thing at all that I've seen, but yeah, I'm so glad they gave it land destruction as a mechanic. That's everybody's favorite. I love not being able to play my deck. Next up, Tundra Fumarole. It's a 3-cost snow sorcery, rare and red with 2 red in the cost, so that's something. Deals 4 damage to target creature, planeswalker. Cool. Add 1 generic mana for each snowball spent to cast this spell. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Okay, usually you attack that on an instant, but okay. So, I mean, I guess you could, like, get 3 out of it. So if you spend it some other time in the turn, this is a 1-cost 4 damaged creature planeswalker hitter, which is why they didn't make it hit the player's life total, because that would be ridiculous. If you're playing snow, play it. If you're not, don't. I mean, there's not much more to say. Vault Robber is next. It's a 2-cost 1/3 dwarf rogue. If you pay 1 and tap it, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a treasure token. Yeah, get it. He's a grave robber. Get it. I don't know. Solid filler card. Next up, Fearless Liberator. It's a 2/1 for 2 dwarf berserker. It has boast 3. Okay. Create a 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature token. So just pay 3, clone himself, and he doesn't die. Yeehaw. If he does die, well, there's another one. Except that obviously the token doesn't gain boast. I mean, yeah. Suicide Blitz. It's red. It's berserker. That's what they do. This is supposed to make it actually a wise idea. Next up, X-Guard Braggart. It's a 4-cost 3/3 dwarf warrior with boast 2. Untap X-Guard Braggart and put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, so that's purely defensive. That's not even a gamble. That's just like, I swung. Oh, and by the way, I'm making him bigger. Yeah, you could do this every turn. It would potentially get pretty out of control. You could make him bigger, bigger, bigger. I mean, his starting point is pretty late because he costs 4. Just play Luminarch Aspirant. It's infinitely a better card, which deserves a ban immediately. But, I mean, yeah, on the right deck, I think this is more of a draft card. It just screams like, because biggest creature wins is pretty much how a lot of drafts settle, like a large portion of the time. Next up, Goldmaw Champion. It's a 2/3 for 3 dwarf warrior. It has boast 2, tap target creature. Now see, once again, that's not in the spirit of boast. Boast is supposed to be like, I'm swinging, I'm taking the risk, maybe I'll get away with it, maybe I won't, but hopefully boast can go off, and if it all goes, downhill, I could maybe give it like +2 in first strike or something, or indestructible. It's supposed to be a risk-reward thing. This is just, I'm paying more to get one of your creatures out of the way. It's the opposite of a risk. You're actually reducing your risk. So this is just a swing on tap ability that costs 2. I mean, this isn't even boast. I mean, okay, whatever. I guess I just wanted to put boast on another card, but it's not boast. Next up, Score and Effigy. It's a 3-cost 2/3 Scarecrow. Gotta love the Scarecrow tribal. So glad to see support for that. Foretell 0. Why? What is this? What is the point of this? Why? I'm still waiting for it to clear up if you can like effectively give this flash by giving it foretell, or if you have to stick to the timing of the super type, because the super type creature cannot be cast at instant speed. The reminder text does not specify. I'm sure at this point somebody's asked a staff member. I just haven't seen the answer. But I mean, if this is just, oh, surprise, I have a 2/3 and I foretold it for 0. Okay, why did you not need it in play till now? Just pay for it. Did you not have 3 mana and you needed it to be 2 and then 0 split turns? Really? But if you could effectively flash in a 2/3 and then ambush a 2/2 and kill it, that's a whole different story. So I don't know what to think about this till I hear how the rules work. Next up, Omen Keel. It's a legendary artifact vehicle, but it only costs 2 and it's only 3/3, so it's not that legendary. And when a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. Oh good, mill assistance, yay! You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled, crew 1. Mill enabler, control enabler, it's rampant, it's in blue. I don't like any of that. But this is actually a god on the other side, because I guess there's another blue god. I'm really losing count of them at this point. So on the other side, we got Cosima, god of the voyage. It's a 3-cost 2/4, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, which they said it gains, so it's in exile. What do you mean if? Like, where else would she be? While in exile, she gains this. If she's exiled, like, what is that? Anyway, you may put a voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on it and draw X cards, where X is the number of voyage counters on it. So the first time you play a land, you put a voyage counter on her. The second time, she already has one, so you drop her into play. And then she gets X/1/1 counters, and you draw X, where X is the number of voyage counters on it, which is only 1. How would it ever not be 1? Oh, I got that wrong. You may put a voyage counter on it. Okay, so you may keep stacking them up. So let's say you let 3 of them pile up, then, okay, I'll return her to play. You get, +3 counters on her, which is nice, and then draw 3 cards. I mean, that's, boy, ticking time bomb right there. But it's effectively landfall, so if you're playing like a natural, unassisted, no scry, no draw deck, only 1 out of every 3 turns are you going to top deck a land, because 1/3 of your deck is lands. It's the 1/3 rule. So you want her to come in with 3 voyage counters, you're waiting 9 turns. Now you play Cultivate, that's a whole different story. Blue is just not the color that people play in landfall decks. So I don't think this will make up for Earl getting kicked out of the game. But it would be just an interesting, fun little side thing that you can do if you're playing blue and play her, but she doesn't seem that good. Who knows? Maybe someone will do something interesting with her. Next up, Gates of Isfeld. It's another one of these. Oh boy. So you pay too much mana and sacrifice Gates of Istfel or whatever the hell. And you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Great. I don't think that would be worth losing a land if this was a free ability, to be perfectly honest. Next up, Nico Defies Destiny. Nobody cares. Go back to Theros and stop throwing shards of the multiverse at people. It's a 3-cost, and it's in the control colors, and it has Nico's name on it. This will be Radioactive Cancer. Let's see. You gain 2 life for each foretold card you own in exile. Great. Then we got add some mana to your mana pool. Spend this only to piss off your opponent by playing control shit. Oh, sorry, I misread that. Spend this mana only to use to foretell cards or cast cards that have foretell. Okay. And then 3, return target card with foretell from your graveyard to your hand. So it's just foretell enabler. Foretell is a mechanic. I mean, it hasn't seemed to shape up yet. That colorless thing should be interesting. It looks like it's like cycling. It's a nice little backup plan. And then cycling, they were like, well, we got to do more with it. Let's make it into a mechanic. Let's make cycling the deck. And then, well, look how that worked out. They're like, wow, this is useless, except that the creatures are OP as shit. Let's make a win con, Zenith Flare. And then that's pretty much the most hated deck in Standard right now. You could say you hate Mill because you hate Mill. You could say you hate Rogues because it wins too much. But honestly, if you actually had to sit down and play against cycling Zenith Flare, you would have the worst time and you know it. So I don't want them to make foretell into a mechanic, but this is like more like a foretell assistance than just every time you cast a foretell card, deal 2 damage to the opponent or something. If that would be foretell is the mechanic. So I don't know till we see all the cards how good this will be. Next up, Skemfar Elderhall. It's one of those again. You pay a metric ass ton of mana, tap it, lose a land, and then up to 1 target creature you don't control gets -2/-2 till end of turn. Wow, super worth it. Create 2 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens, that I could see. And then activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. I would drop a couple of these into an elf deck. Obviously only in standard. And that's it for yesterday's spoilers. Great, now I get to edit this for an hour, upload it, and then start all over again. Yay, and I heard that there's even more toxic ass cancer than that free casting green disaster in today's spoilers. Yay! Well, this set's gone to shit. To all the absolute uninformed, clueless, new to the game dumbasses who say, I'm excited about this set, you are out of your damn mind, and people are going to rip you to shreds after this comes out and goes down in history as the worst set ever released. So, maybe shut up with that. Unless you put in parentheses, for draft. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.